With the state of today's economy, it's more important than ever to invest in products that last for years to come. As the seasons shift and get cooler, make sure your closet is stocked with durable layers that stand the test of time from American Giant. American Giant's clothes work harder and are wearable season after season. Their greatest hoodie ever made is made from the highest quality materials that are cut and sewn right here in the United States. So you're investing right back in your local community. Choosing American Giant means taking a stand for American manufacturing and hardworking Americans, something other mega corporations don't care about. From fleece to knit, all in a range of colors for versatile daily wear, American Giant delivers everyday pieces designed for everyday life. Feel the difference of quality, made-to-last clothes from American Giant. Get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20 at american-giant.com. That's 20% off your first order at american-giant.com with code STAPLE20.
It prompted me to kind of do some research, get some help, do some self-inquiry, and really understand my own relationship dynamic patterns. And what I've come and found has been life-changing. And so it's been the culmination of my life's work is now in serving people and helping them get through the kind of traumas and insecurities that I went through, that were mainly kind of linked to anxious attachment style, the anxiety and the not knowing if I'm going to be rejected.
That was Tzara Attwater. She's a relationship coach that helps successful men and women transform their relationships and take it to the next level, both personally and professionally. So if you're bored and want to upgrade your relationships, this is the show for you. Welcome to another episode of the Online Marketing Secrets Podcast with your host, Lopaz. So let's get started.
Sit back and relax and get ready for another exclusive episode of the Online Marketing Secrets Podcast with Lopez.
This episode is sponsored by Goody, the ultimate AI software for all your content needs. Whether it's blogs, websites, newsletters, articles, ads, LinkedIn posts, or even images for your social media, Goody has you covered. Here's how it works. Goody takes the hassle out of content creation by generating high-quality material tailored to your needs. Best of all, you can try it absolutely free for 7 days with full access. That's right, no cost, no risk, and you can cancel anytime. Getting started is easy. Simply go to lopezlasane.com/goody or click the link in the show notes to begin your free trial today. Don't let content creation slow you down. Try Goody now and discover the easiest way to supercharge your blogs, websites, and social media today. Don't wait. Go to lopezlasane.com/goody and get your free trial today.
So, where are you from?
So I'm in sunny Brisbane, but Australia. It's not so sunny today. It's a bit humid. We've had a massive lightning storm last night, so it wasn't much fun for all the animals. But yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, nice. I've had, just like I said before we started recording, I've spent a lot of time over there. I've been around, I've traveled around Australia a pretty good bit over the past 25 years, I would say.
So I have to ask, because most people are a little bit fearful of all the animals. We've got the most dangerous animals in the world. Did you come across anything?
No, I stay in the city limits.
Okay.
I didn't go out in the woods. No, because they told us about that. That was like maybe the first thing they said, that hey, they got some animals, wild animals out there that'll kill you.
Yeah, when you go in for a swim in the ocean, you're definitely not top of the food chain anymore.
Yeah, and then they said there's a dip in the water.
Okay, whereabouts?
Because in America, when you're on the beach and you walk in the water, it goes down slowly but surely, right?
All right, yeah.
But other places, I found that there's a drop off. It drops down.
Yeah, because of the current, strong current.
So they said to be careful about that and a whole lot of other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, the people were great. I always had a good time. People were, I found that people over there are much more friendlier.
Really? Than Americans? I find Americans really friendly.
Yeah. Well, this just depends on where you at.
True. Very true.
Yeah.
Same with Australia. It depends where you're at. People can be quite, depends what, out in the bush. I've traveled all the way around Australia. I've done a full lap of Australia and different characters, different places all over the world, right?
Yeah, that's true. So how did you become a relationship coach?
Yeah, beautiful question. I think from my own unhealthy relationships over the years, being able to recognize that I'm the single factor that's consistent in every single one of those relationships, it prompted me to kind of do some research, get some help, do some self-inquiry, and really understand my own relationship dynamic patterns. And what I've come and found has been life-changing. And so it's been the culmination of my life's work is now in serving people and helping them get through the kind of traumas and insecurities that I went through, that were mainly kind of linked to anxious attachment style, the anxiety and the not knowing if I'm going to be rejected, if I'm going to be abandoned, feeling like I've got to people please, and going out of my way to do things for others, where so much so that I lost a sense of who I was, and the fears that were running all of that ended up eventuating, I wouldn't be able to keep a long-term relationship because I think I was just exhausting for someone else to be able to manage all of my emotional roller coaster. So yeah, I did all of that work, that self-discovery. And like I say, now I help men and women overcome those unhealthy relationship imbalances.
So how did you even know that there were such a thing as a relationship coach? Did you meet someone that was doing a similar thing, or because I didn't know. I just I kind of stumbled into this. I was just online. I started a YouTube channel, and I was just traveling and just uploading videos for fun, and then people just started asking for advice, and then somebody else in the comment section said, "Hey, you sound like some other guy." Which I didn't ever heard of the guy, but he said, "You sound like some other guy. He's a dating coach or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, a dating coach? What's that?" So that's how I found out that people were actually helping people with their relationships. So how did you know?
Well, I guess once I'd gone through and I'd done the inquiry for myself, it kind of went, I wish I had somebody to help and show me what I now understand when I was going through that. And I started doing some research, with my mentor and my coaches that had been helping me. And they told me that it was a big thing. It was a big deal, that there were lots of people out there as coaches doing relationship development. And so I inquired into it and found that, yeah, I've really got a place here, and what I can offer is going to be really, really helpful. And it's just been part of an ongoing process that I've been looking into. And what I uncover daily, I think this attachment styles and attachment theory is the cornerstone of my work. But by the same token, I'm constantly reading up about new ideas in this space. And I was just sharing with you before we recorded about a book, the values of others. What was it called again? The value of others. Yeah. And it really talks about the sexual marketplace and how women in the typical kind of traditional model of heterosexual relationship, and that's not to exclude anybody else, but just to sort of caveat, that's how he talks in the book, how women really hold the monopoly on the sexual marketplace. And men hold a monopoly on commitment. It was really interesting to understand this dynamic between the two players that are involved, and why we get into relationships, because we want something from the other person. Women want commitment and men want sex, in the very generalized, not to exclude any LGBT community people, but to kind of understand that traditional dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, it's that there's all type of different relationships, but just generally speaking, I mean, if you have a man and a woman, I mean, there's a give and take, between each people. The woman might want a family, she might want kids, and the man he might want kids, but he probably want to, be financially, off, with, he want more than enough money, so it's I think it's always a give and take. But I think the problem with a lot of people is how they go about doing it sometimes. They can come across the wrong way sometimes, And
so that's exactly, how do we get into these relationships, that whether we want them or we don't want them? Why are we getting involved with people? What's our motivation? There's all sorts of reasons why we get involved in relationships with another person. Not just for money, not just for security, but just for companionship. People really valuing emotional intelligence and that form of sharing your life values with people. And so it's a really interesting dynamic. But what really I'm interested in is how we get into these unhealthy relationships and what prompts us to stay in them. Why do we undervalue our own motivations with being in those relationships? I mean, it's really interesting to note that 50% of the population are securely attached people, and by that I mean they're in relationships where they're able to emotionally regulate themselves. If there's problems that come up, they're able to conflict manage those challenges and difficulties. They're able to set healthy boundaries. And yet, if you're in the dating pool and you're looking for a partner, it might seem like they are the golden goose or the unicorns of the dating world, that it's impossible to find a securely attached person. And it's because of these childhood woundings that we've experienced in childhood that we cross over and bring into our adult lives. In particular, this anxious attachment style, which is what I work with people on. And it really comes about from feeling like an inconsistency with a caregiver. If your parents weren't consistent with their attention or the care that they gave you, and that could have been a plethora of reasons. I mean, if you were with a single parent, or your parents were holding down 2 or 3 jobs, there might have been all sorts of addictions or anything going on in your family life. As a child, if that is inconsistent, you'll start to feel that you have to earn your love. You have to earn it from the caregiver. And so you'll create all of these coping strategies and different behaviors in order to get that. And because that's your first learning, you cross that over into adult relationships, it's going to have really an unhealthy side effect. You're going to constantly repeating these behavior patterns in your adult relationships. And that, for an anxious attached person, that might be like constantly fear of abandonment, constantly fearing rejection, feeling like you're not good enough, blaming yourself the whole time, wanting to be reassured constantly. So that might look like sending a plethora of text messages. I know I was quite I did that quite a lot in my partner. If I didn't hear from him, or if he said that he was coming back for lunch and he was late, I'd be sending him a load of messages trying to work out where he was, because I'd go to the worst case scenario and I'd start thinking it was something that I had done. What was my last conversation with him? What did I say to him? What's he upset about? What can I do to make it better? So it's constantly feeling like you're on eggshells. And what I've learned is that from the partner's perspective, it can be incredibly exhausting. And, you'd want to kind of get away from that, because you're kind of emotionally regulating the other person. You're kind of parenting them. And so, Yeah, I mean, is that landing for you? Have you experienced anybody like that, Lo?
Yeah, of course. I've met people like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And how did it make you feel?
Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, and like after, over time, then they become a distraction.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I can't focus on what I really need to do, whether I'm at work or working on some project or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And so, so the very behavior, so the fear that's driving that, let's say they're sending a load of text messages, what have I done wrong? How can I make this better? That behavior, whilst it has a good intention in the person that's doing it, they want to make things right. For the person receiving it, it's overwhelming and it's exhausting, and it's going to make them push away. It's going to make them want to get away from the person that's sending them all the messages. So you can see how the anxious person is actually orchestrating the very thing that they're fearful of happening, which is being rejected. So it's really, that's where I work with those people on helping them understand it's actually your behaviors that are creating the thing you don't want. And that can be mind-blowing for people, because they can kind of get into this pattern of thinking, I just need to be better, I'm a good person, I'll keep on doing all of these things for other people. But yeah, it's actually not creating the very thing that they really want. Yeah,
because, and that's another thing. If I'm focused on doing something, whether it's a job or whatever, right? I need to be, my mind has to be at ease. I need to be in flow.
Right.
Because I can focus and get more done and be much more productive.
Right.
But at the same time, if somebody's sending me texts and email and calling me like all the time, I'm like, hey, look, that can be a distraction after a while.
Sure.
And then I can't be productive.
Yeah, sure. So it comes down to values, right? It's like what you're valuing. And so I remember in the early stages of relationships, when you've got that love happening and you're super excited and you want to know more about that person, there's a real engagement there, right? Can you remember that? Can you remember feeling like that? And so at that stage, work is a distraction. I just want to be so focused on this person. I just want to know, what's their likes, what do they dislike? I want to know everything about this person. So over time, when things start to settle down, it needs to get to a balance. And that's where the secure person can regulate emotionally. But we've all experienced that kind of first young love, that initial throes of love where they're just taking up all of your mind. Yeah.
And the thing is, a lot of people think the way it is in the beginning, they think it's supposed to be that way forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it can't be that way forever. You would burn out.
You'll burn out 100%. If you're going into it, where you're fully absorbed and you're fully into the other person, you'll go into burnout. Someone once told me a really great analogy about riding on a boat. And if you can't row a boat using an oar you can't row a boat using an oar on one side only. So there's no amount of extra effort on your part that can make up for the lack of effort on their part. So if you really want to know if you can get into a relationship with someone, literally, could you row a boat with them? Could you row harmoniously together across the turbulent waters of the ocean and come out on the other side? And that's, I think, is a great metaphor to understand whether the relationship is right for you or not. I personally can't row, so I don't know what I would do.
Yeah. So you being in Australia, how did you connect with people that wanted help? Or how'd you like connect with people? Because I don't really, you live there, so that's why I'm just curious.
Yeah, sure. So I connect through social media. I think, that's the main source of being able to reach out and network people. I do podcasts like this, and I do some public speaking, but I also run workshops on this particular topic to help people. They're often free, so I get people to come in and experience what it's like to be coached by me, take people through some demonstrations so they can really understand their mind shifts. And there's just some incredible moments that we have on these workshops. They're just amazing. So I'm happy to share that with your listeners when my next workshop will be, so that if they wanted to come and join, assuming the time zones are correct. I know there was a bit of a time zone difference, but if they wanted to register, and I can send them a link for the recording, that's something I'm more than happy to do, because I go over some tips and skills, really looking at some of the common behaviors. If ruminating and overthinking about an argument that you might have had, blaming yourself, unable to create boundaries in the relationship for fear that you might be abandoned or rejected. There's this, so just some basic self-awareness skills to help you navigate through. And as you start to do that, you'll be able to be more comfortable with space. So space is the biggest difficulty for people with an anxious attachment style, because space, when I say space, I mean not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. So physically, they need to be close to that person to know that they're in their sphere, but mentally, they won't stop thinking about that person. They won't stop ruminating and working out ways in which they can be there and support that person and do things for that person without recognizing that person might just need some space. And they're simultaneously not putting their own needs first when they're constantly thinking about the other person. So it can feel like an emotional roller coaster, constantly chasing after people that aren't giving them attention, are kind of rejecting them, so that they constantly trying to make up. They're trying to constantly prove their love, feeling like they need to earn their love. That's what they do. So they constantly chase people that are going to reject them, are emotionally distant, because that's the childhood learning that they had as a child through the childhood. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm going all around in circles, but I hope that's making some sort of sense.
Yeah. I mean, everything starts from home. When you were young.
Yeah.
Everything starts from home, But it's very difficult. I found it's very difficult for most people, especially once they hit like 40s, to change their behavior. Oh, it's very difficult.
What's difficult about it? What do you think is difficult about it?
I think for most people, it's become normal.
What's become normal?
Like their behavior, the way they talk, the people, the way they talk to themselves, what they think about themselves, it's become normal after a while. And a lot of people who maybe they've met before me, more than likely never said anything to them about it. They might have said, hey, they might think, or at least a few occasions, I would say that some of the people I've met that were like this, when I told them, I said, hey, you know what? Maybe you should try this or think about that. And they said, well, you know what? No one ever told me that before.
Right.
So I think a lot of people who they've encountered, or maybe their friends or whoever they may be, probably never said anything about what they do.
Sure. And that's it, right? We only know what we know. And when we think about it, all of our learnings, everything that we've learned was when we were in childhood, right? Those early stages, right? So we learned how to walk, how to talk, how to have table manners, whatever it is. And as adults, we never think to go back and revisit, maybe that strategy I've got for, eating food might not be the best way. Or let's say, a thinking process or a way of believing about things. Let's say you got bitten by a dog when you were young, right? You might then have the meaning that all dogs are dangerous. Just put them all into a bucket, that they're all dangerous. And so you never think to go back and reevaluate, well, maybe some dogs aren't, some dogs are. And so that's what so that's what I work with, just to go back into and have a look at the thinking patterns and the meanings that you're giving to things. And often it's like the child that learned that thing, that was good for the child to learn that when they learned it, because it was a coping strategy that worked for the child. But if we think now as an adult, it's like the child's at the bus, driving the bus, and we're in the back seat, playing in the back, not really taking control. And we've got to get the child out of the bus, put the child back, let the child play in the back, put the graffiti on the back of the bus, and we drive the bus. That's what it's about. It's about shifting the mindset on, this strategy isn't working for me anymore. And that might be, like we said, like sending 1,000,001 text messages. What's that about? What's the real foundation underneath that? What are you fearful of? And that's about the space that I was talking about before, mentally and physically and emotionally, being able to be comfortable with that space and not making it about you. So yeah, it's about getting those behavior patterns that you talk about being difficult. It's only because we don't think about questioning them. You said you put attention to a friend, and we only know what we know. So unless anybody says anything to us, we don't know. And that's what the role of what I do is all about, to help people see what's outside of their blind spots.
Yeah. And another thing that a lot of people, they blame their parents.
Yes, that's so true. Yeah, that's so true.
They something might have happened 30, 40, 50 years ago, and they'll be like, oh, my parents, they did this, they did that. And I'm like, look, man, at some point you kind of have to let that go, man. And plus, we don't get to pick our parents.
True.
We don't.
True. And I love that. I love that sharing, Lopez, because that's a great example, right? Where we're constantly running the narrative that our parents were the fault, right? But what that simultaneously does is just makes us wash our hands. It's not my fault. It was my parents' fault. So therefore, I don't have to do anything about it. But that's you still being the child. That's you still blaming someone else and not putting, not taking responsibility for your life and saying, you know what? That was then. I'm the one that's allowing that situation in the past to affect me right now by constantly reminding myself that my parents are no good and that my parents are bad and they wish they had been different parents. You have the ability each and every moment to choose what your future will be. And so I say to people, you're never too old to have the perfect childhood, because you can change that. You can change your narrative on what you're doing. Your parents, whatever they did the best that they could with the tools that they had at that time, right? They really did, because that was what the tools that they had available to them, and so they did the best that they could at that time. So as adults, we have to understand that and let it go, because while we're holding on to it, we're the only ones that are creating the suffering for ourselves.
Yeah, So how did you have the confidence that hey, I can teach other people what I've learned?
Say again. So
how'd you have the confidence to know that hey, I can teach other people how to get past these roadblocks? Right. How'd you have the confidence to know that you could do it?
I think it was remembering the person I was, the child that I was, that the kind of, before I became caged, if you like, by my own mindset, my own thinking, my own fears. I knew I had a curiosity, a childlike curiosity, to be able to just inquire into the world and really approach people and things with complete honesty. And then when I got into a relationship, I lost myself. I became a shadow of my former self. And I'll be honest with you, that relationship ended with me walking in on him in bed with my best friend. And so it was a real shattering moment for me, right? Because I saw the visual. It was there. I couldn't avoid that. I couldn't make up excuses for all the red flags that were happening. I saw it. And so that relationship ended, and I was a shell of my former self. I was completely broken. But what held me on was thinking, this isn't who I am. I have to refine who I am, define who I am based on what I want, not based on what I want, what I think others are expecting of me, based on what I think that will make them happy so that they'll stay with me, because that won't work. So it was really, what did they say? Push through to push out, that kind of breaking down to break through. So I really got to the pits. I really was down in the emotional. I was broken emotionally. And it took me a couple of years to find myself again, and lots of coaching and lots of work on self. And that was 15 odd years ago now. So I've done a lot of work since then, and that's why I'm so passionate, and why I feel like I can help the people that are going through those similar traits, the similar behavior patterns. So from my experience, I can blame him and say, oh, he was this bad person, selfish, and he did all of this, but that's not taking responsibility for my part in the relationship too. And like I said, my anxious attachment behavior patterns are probably what pushed him away in the first place. So I need to take responsibility for what's mine, and let him take responsibility for what was his. He was being very selfish. So to just take ownership of that. And once you do, it's incredibly empowering, because you don't lose any part of yourself again. You can start to rebuild and own what's yours. And there's so much confidence that comes in with that, because you can see step by step, I'm healing, I'm getting better. I know that I can define boundaries, I can hold space, I can catch red flags, I can have an honest and open conversation with somebody, which isn't going to lead them astray, or lead them into a situation where they might not want to be into, which I think happens a lot in relationships. People covertly getting involved in relationships when they don't really, that's not the right person for them.
Yeah, why do you think people do that? Some people would say that's settling.
Settling, yeah. And I think it comes back to self-worth. That, I speak to a lot of women that have come out, like you talked about, being 40 and get to that stage in life where they're not young, or they might have passed the kind of maternal period in their life where they're not going to be able to have children again. And, their relationships have finished, or they've ended, and they feel like they're single. They're never going to be able to find somebody again. And so they start to settle. They'll just go with the first person that gives them some sort of security. But it's not because they're happy. It's because of a fear. The fear is driving that relationship. They don't want to be alone. And so I think the settling comes down from all sorts of insecurities and an inability to really recognize the value that we have in ourselves. I'd love to share that. We were all children, right? We were all babies once. And I don't know if you have children. Lopez, do you have children? No. But you've seen a baby, right? You've seen, yeah. When you look at that little baby, they're completely helpless. By the same kind of standards that we judge ourselves, we need to be beautiful or wealthy or whatever it is, the same standards that we kind of beat ourselves up about. When you look at that baby, they can't do anything for themselves. They can't feed themselves. They can't walk. They can't stand. They can't even talk. They can't do anything without. And yet they are so priceless and precious and something so beautiful. And yet at some point that child was us, right? We were like that at some point, but through our lives we start to layer on our own insecurities and our own meaning makings about things. And so it's like the onion, unpeeling that to be able to get us back to that point where we could be completely free and unburdened of those fears that we have that are making us settle, that are making us devalue ourselves. Listening to that bully voice in our head telling us we're not good enough, that don't go and talk to that woman, she'll think you're stupid, you're not funny enough, or don't talk to him, he's going to think you're fat and this, that, and the other, whatever it is, that voice that's relentless, right? Those are the whole fears that are making us motivate our behavior patterns. And that stems from, the childhood. You talked about it not being our parents. It's not necessarily our parents, but that's where we learned. So we have to go back and unlearn those thinkings. If they're no longer resourceful for us, some things are still resourceful. I mean, learning to walk the way I learned to walk, that still works for me. I'm going to keep that learning. but some other things might not be. Some of the other things might be like, I need to blame myself. If someone's getting angry with me, then it's my fault. That's not necessarily healthy. Yeah. For a child, if you're being told off, it's your fault. You can internalize that as an adult, and that's not necessarily a strategy that could be working for you as an adult. And it can play out not just in your relationships, but at work, not speaking up, getting a pay rise, not setting some boundaries, working long hours for fear that you're going to be fired. That's all part of that learning as a child. But ultimately, we are all stars of the universe. We are all, if you're religiously minded, we are all children of God, and that is a beautiful place to kind of understand where we're from. That, to stop listening to the voice in our head so much. It's not. One of the things I tell people, I ask people, if you're getting yourself into a kind of head noise where you're feeling like you're beating yourself up too much, just ask yourself, what am I telling myself that's not true? What am I telling myself that's not true? What are the facts? What do you actually know about the situation that you're beating yourself up on? Let's say your boss at work, right? He's just brushed past you, or she's just brushed past you, and she's saying, I want to have a chat with you. Can you come into my office? And immediately you might start thinking, what have I done wrong? What was the project that I gave them? How did I make a mistake? You might naturally start thinking or blaming yourself, when the reality could be they want to give you a massive high five for that job, and give you a pay rise, or give you a pat on the back for something. And so it's about recognizing, what am I actually telling myself that's not true? What are the facts? The facts are that the boss just wants to speak to you. That's it. You don't know anything else. Anything else is what you're layering on top of it.
Yeah, that's true. I always tell people, you're already special. You just don't know it yet.
That's right. That's beautiful. Yeah. And so that's what I want people to feel. I want people to feel that they're special, right? And so if you're in relationships, or you're wanting to find somebody, if you're wanting to find that special person, I've created a couple of books. I think I've shared them with you, that you can go and download to find 52 ways to meet somebody in real life. So get yourself off the apps, and 52 date ideas. So if you're already in a relationship and it's getting a bit dry, or it's, you're wanting to ignite a little bit of romance into your already relationships, then this is 52 different date ideas. That's one for every week of the year, and we're already in January, so it'd be a great idea to download those. Just some different ideas, and they're all the photos that are in these books that I created are photos from my trip around Australia that I took. And so the meeting somebody in real life is about finding somebody off of the apps, getting away from the apps, and how to go and meet somebody in real life, and different ideas. So there's 52, one for every week of the year. So hopefully by the end of the year, if you're single, you will definitely have found somebody if you use those books and my strategies, and maybe come along to the workshop and hopefully employ some of these strategies there, and you can find the love that you're seeking, if that's something that you want. And if you're already in a relationship, then the 52 dates will help deepen your relationship and get you into doing things that you might not be doing before.
Well, last question. So in a perfect world, who's your ideal client?
My ideal client is someone who is willing to look at themselves honestly, is someone that is willing to do the work, is not afraid to face their insecurities and face their fears, because that's what stops us ultimately. That's what we talked about before. It's what keeps somebody settling for less than what they deserve. So my ideal client is someone that's willing to do the work, is ready to say enough is enough. They're tired of repeating the same unhealthy relationships. They're ready to find the love that they want in their life and that they deserve. And so that would be my ideal relationship, and I work with those people.
There you have it. Like, share this episode. All links will be found in the show notes. Until next time, we are out. Peace.
Thank you.